referrals. If somebody patronizes a hotel facility, for instance, then you have the opportunity to do tours, or you have the opportunity to, go to a nightclub or a restaurant. So online collaboration is really lacking. Those are some of the findings that, came out. And then if you go online as well, Google My Business, in terms of business profiling, it is all over the place. It's not really developed. But the other aspect of online resource that has been explored seriously, and here I will commend South African tourism. They more or less, if I'm right, they pioneered this story where you have, they have this South Africa specialist education. I've been a beneficiary of that, and I'm certified South Africa, specialist. So the whole idea, you go online, it's an interactive session. You have the opportunity to learn the culture, the history, the products, the attractions, and everything. And so as a tour operator, you'll be able to sell the destination adequately, and it is certified. And following that, Ghana has also adopted that. I don't know the situation with Nigeria, but Ghana has adopted that, and that is, the name is Ghana Gurus. So you go online, it's also similarly an interactive session. You can get certification and then get to know our beautiful culture and attractions that we have there. There is also another aspect of it within the, Dubai destination, where they have it as a Dubai Experts. And these are some of the online resources and then digital infrastructure that we can take advantage of to promote the future of tourism. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I've been told by the media team that I think we have Mr. Rahim is more audible now. Mr. Rahim, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Okay, great. So just to follow up to the question I asked you before, you could just easily add on to tell us about some successful initiatives that Zanzibar has undertaken to promote the integration of culture, creativity, and sports in the tourism industry.
Well, on Zanzibar side, considering that we are a very cosmopolitan island, a lot of initiatives have been undertaken. First of all, we are very proud of our local cuisine. So that's one of the things which we are concentrating upon. Other thing is on our water sports, the beaches, and also based on our history and culture. As you know, Zanzibar was the beaches by the 5 rulers, starting from the Portuguese, British, Germans, Arabs, and the Shirazis, the Iranians, basically. So there is a lot of interaction and mixture of culture. However, all the biggest challenge which comes with the tourism, what we believe is the modern day tourism. When you say the modern day tourism, basically our youths, our people, they, instead of providing or teaching to the world, it ends up we adapting what they bring in. And that's where the challenges are from ourselves as the African destination and promoting the African tourism agenda, that how can we give back to the world rather than taking it from the world? What I believe is for the governments, the time has come basically to avail Africa and make Africa become an easily accessible destination. You will observe there's a lot of challenges. We will be much easier to adopt a Western or a North American culture, but it will be very much harder for us even to adopt a fellow African culture, which we believe the time has come for us to create, maybe from a very young age to our youths, how we can integrate and for them to understand that this is what we should be preserving and this is what our future lies upon. So I believe on the Zanzibar side, that's what we have done. We are also trying to promote our cuisine. We are promoting our beaches, but there are challenges. We must admit, when you open up the country for the tourism, there are the good part of it, but there are also challenges part of it, where how are we prepared as a destination or an African destination to make sure we remain on track, our youths remain on track, our service providers remain on track. And this is not a one man or one government. These are where the tourism boards and the local entities and the local governments have to play their part, which on the Zanzibar side, we are trying a lot, we are trying to achieve that. However, there are some decisions which need to be taken by the central governments where we need their understanding to come in. I don't know if that's what my opinion.
Yes. I think I was able to get a lot of what you're saying, but I was hoping that you could, mention at least maybe 2 initiatives that are currently running at the moment in Zanzibar.
In Zanzibar, actually, currently the initiative is basically we have created a festivals whereby we have something called Sauti za Busara Festival, where we try to integrate the African culture, one of the big musical under the African skies, we call it Under the African Skies, which happens every February. Then we have basically another thing is called Zanzibar International Film Festival, where we try and promote the local films and the local culture of Africa. And we are also having another festival called Kizimkazi Festival and Seafood Festival, whereby we try to promote the local content of the Zanzibar within the tourism aspect. So when you look on this side, the culture is being integrated within the tourism sector.
Okay, beautiful. And I love the fact that I would love to experience the Under the African Sky. I believe that it's going to be something that is going to be selling Africa as a continent, as a nation. And like the conversation that was had yesterday, the local market is Africa. We're not just going to be saying the local market is within the states in our country or our local government area, but we're looking at Africa as that local market. I'm going to throw that extension of the question to you, Obi. Your experience spans across London, Lagos, Accra. How do you leverage to plan your international networking events or, different experiences to bring a global perspective to the promotion of African creative industries?
I think that, if you take Africa as the base of what we're talking about, and you understand that, if I look at it from the perspective of the film industry, and you understand that Hollywood has kind of run out of stories for the last 20 years. So Hollywood has been mining Asian stories, Japan, China, and to some extent, India, right? So, and this is intentional because when you run out of stories, you have to refresh. Then you have to look at where the story is coming from. The stories of the West emerged through the canon of civilization of the West. So Egypt, Greece, Rome, it's mythology, right? So over here, what I talk about this a lot. I say, what's the difference between Thor and Shango? I'll tell you what the difference is. If you're not Nigerian, you may not know who Shango is. But if you're Nigerian, you know who Shango is. Shango is the god of thunder. In the Yoruba creation mythology, he's an Orisha. If you look at the powers of the Orisha, and you're like me, you're into comics, you would understand that the X-Men in Marvel are really a modern-day version of the Orisha. The X-Men have generated about $100 billion. The Orisha are abandoned somewhere around here. Okay? So the first thing is, if you continue to ignore your most important values, you cannot sell anything. So the best stories are all sitting here. They're in our hands, right? Beautiful. The festivals are around us, right? The culture is around us. It's about having the confidence to express it and to turn the experience to a product. The Argungu Fishing Festival near Sokoto has, when a friend of mine did a documentary around this that we're trying to get Netflix to take. When you see this thing, it's like 200,000 people in a river at the same time. There's nowhere on earth you're going to see that. The Durbas we have in the north, they have not been seen. The Ofala Festival in Onitsha is the foundation for Carnival in Trinidad and Jamaica. It is our people translocated 100%. But if we don't reach out and claim our heritage and make the connections, we cannot complain. You can't play victim if you're not using your own primary assets. So the truth of the matter is the power has always lain in Africa. The stories are here. Perhaps it's the collaboration that's been missing, where the creative economy, just like he said, it's all separated: creative, culture, sports. Actually, it's just Africa. When you do that and make it a fist, you break through the walls. So for me, it's about being intentional. And I hate repeating myself, but fundamentally, there's nothing new in this world, and everything started here. But what we have to do is reposition. So we talk about digital platforms. One thing I have to commend here is that about 5 years ago, the NTDC got into a partnership with Google Arts and Culture. If you're not aware, Google Arts and Culture is by far the biggest repository online in terms of culture and museums. And now, in fact, I saw the Kenyan collection there and I was amazed. This is like 2018. I felt bad, but there's over 150 countries. But Nigeria, we're now there, we're represented. You can see a lot of stuff, but it's still scratching the surface. So the issue is we have, 500 languages, 300 cultures, incredible diversity. We have the rainforest, we have the desert, we have everything, we have the food. So it's really up to us. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. And when we understand that the power we have lies here, it's in the people and in our culture, and it's much more powerful than oil and gas. And it actually makes more money as well. As the numbers, in case you put up, will show you. Sports is bigger, tourism is bigger, culture is bigger, creativity is bigger. So what we need to do is collaborate and push. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to collaborate and we're going to push. Okay, so I think my time is almost up for the session. So I'm just going to ask one last question to Mr. Rahim. I think everyone one more. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
Okay. Before he comes back online, I'm going to ask Dr. Kwesi. So balancing the desire for authenticity, that was kind of part of the questions I was going to throw to him, with the Dr. demands Kwesi. Of modern tourism, so, I know it can be very challenging. How do you approach, this? How do you intend to find a balance to ensure that the visitors that we're trying to promote or to create all these activities for, that we're promoting our culture for, when they come to experience it, how do we intend to balance out that there, because in every tourism situation, there is good and there's some bad, because the truth is in every space, there are certain things that don't work as such. So how do you intend to balance out that they don't go back and or maybe come in and only see the sides that we're not hoping to show them? How do we get to balance it in a way that they get to see what we're trying to show them and not what maybe other parts or other types of media has already put out there? How do you intend to balance that flow? And again, with that, I just want to know the cultural experience, how do we still keep it local? How do they come in, get only what we want them to see? Or should I say what we are projecting? And how do we balance it out with the local customs and traditions?
All right, thank you. I think the whole thing borders on sustainability. If we are very conscious of how we go about sustainable way of doing our tourism and responsible tourism, we can easily address this issue because, of course, we need the money in terms of the financial sustainability of it. That is what is going to drive all the other aspects of sustainable development. Yes, but within that, we also have the social aspect of sustainability where we need to preserve our culture, tradition, history, and heritage. So that's where the balance becomes a bit more murky, and you need to, tread cautiously because once, you shift more towards the other, then the other also suffers. And that's the basis of your question. So it comes on the part of a tour operator or travel trade or even policymaker. I think we need to be very conscious of the carrying capacity of our tourist attractions and destinations. Because once again, let me cite this example. In the year of return, the very year that it was really executed to the max or maximum, Accra was almost choked. Accra was choked. There was heavy vehicular traffic everywhere, and everybody was wondering what is happening to Ghana. But it was so massively promoted that the diasporan community and the other inbound tourists that we received, both from Nigeria and other regional tourists, it was just overwhelming. So these are some of the things that we need to, in our attempt to promote our tourism, we should also be conscious that we embark on responsible tourism activities by way of our advertising and marketing communication. So we don't overpromise and then underdeliver. But the other aspect also is that we need to also make the conscious effort of educating our tourists, visitors, or prospects on to be respectful of local cultures and then their conduct and then behavior. I mean, the simplest issue that comes to mind is littering. You go to certain destinations, and once again, I doff my hat off for Rwanda. You can't just go there and then later. In other jurisdictions and destinations within the West African sub-region, we are very much guilty of that. And people litter everywhere. And these are the things that border on sustainability. Look at plastics all over the place. And all of you are witnesses to some of these things. So we need to do a lot more of education in that respect. Then in the design of our facilities, our attractions and whatever, we need to have that planning aspect in it, in terms of a sustainable way of going about all this. Then we can have that fine balance that we are seeking to achieve. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Rahim, it seems like you're back with us. Can I throw the last question your way, please? You there?
Yeah. Sorry. What?
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So my question would just be, balancing the modernization with the preservation of cultural heritage. I'm really talking about that because, Zanzibar has really put out a lot when it comes to cultural heritage. And we do understand that balancing it could be a challenge. How do you see technology contributing to both preserving and promoting Zanzibar's unique cultural experience? So we've already talked about it with the other speakers. It would just be nice to hear your perspective on the use of technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is one of the very big challenges. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I concur with the previous speaker, and this is one of the very big challenges which we are facing basically in Africa. And we really need to adapt, but also instill education into the generation. And that's why I said that these things, on my perspective, is we cannot say that it can only be done with immediate impact. We really need to start from the very, very early life of our youths in the schools, in the curriculum, and the way of life which we want for our youths and our future generation to have with. It is not something that we can do it overnight. However, the time is still there for us to instill in our youngsters. And what we are trying to adapt is now trying to bring the culture and monitor the situation within the youths. It's not, as my previous speaker said, that digitalization is a tool which can be used, if rightfully used, it can really create a big benefit. Don't forget, we are on a continent where we have the youngest manpower and the youngest, the more advanced workforce currently. In another 30 years, we will be having one of the very advanced skilled labor in the world. So if we take the right measures now, instill into our youths now, the benefits will be enormous in the future. We do not expect these things to be a short term. These are, in my opinion, these are long-term structure and strategies which needs to be put into places as of now, while we are opening up to the rest of the world.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for that response. I do agree with you. Rome wasn't built in a day, but the most important thing is to be intentional and to plan towards what it is that we want to see. Mr. Obi Asika, the final question of the day on this panel. So your role in founding the Storm 360 and nurturing Nigerian music talents has left a significant impact. So how do you envision the creative industry, including music, art, and entertainment? How do you see them playing a vital role in attracting visitors to Nigeria and Africa as a whole?
Yeah, well, the funny thing about it is the story of the explosion of our music is an African story, right? It comes out of the streets of Lagos, the streets of Nigeria, the Idumota and Alaba street markets who first pushed the content into West Africa and then into Central Africa when it was still CDs and cassettes. And then technology is a big play because social media changed everything. And then, of course, the power of Africa Magic, because we partnered early strategically with people like Channel O. I remember in 2005, I probably evacuated something like 200 Nigerian artists onto Channel O at a time when Nigerian television was refusing to play them. So that is something for you to understand. So, and what happens is these artists have been going to local channels trying to get played, but they can't get played. But once they got on Channel O, they take a video of their video on Channel O and they go to NCA Channel 7 or whichever channel it is. And they're like, oh, okay, they're watching you in Africa. So it gave them a little bit of access. And as we did that, we built with those platforms and we built an African audience, and Afrobeats then took Africa before it went into London and then took London and is now taking the world, right? So, but as Afrobeats goes, it takes with it the culture, it takes the fashion, it takes the food, it takes the energy, it takes the dance, it brings the attitude and the personality. And then, being Nigerian, I love my people in Africa, but we affect space. So Amapiano became big, but now I call it Niger Piano because the Nigerians have remixed it. They brought their energy to it and they make it slightly different, right? And it's actually a salute to the South Africans because they do their thing. And if you watch the last 20 years, the street dancing coming out of Soweto, the Kwaito movement is what led into this. And we're all connected. But I can tell you that all the African artists are trying to break in Nigeria, right? Everybody wants to come in here and break and make hits here because somehow this thing we do is like sugar. People love it, right? But perhaps we haven't here been intentional about it. Because this thing was built outside government. It's built outside every ecosystem. I always tell people the first startup industry in Nigeria is Nollywood. The second one is Afrobeats. The startup ecosystem you're seeing now is number 3. That's the tech guys. But those tech guys got their confidence from the Afrobeats because they could see that, oh, okay, these young guys are affecting people. So I think it's just about trying to be authentic in your expression, right? But also being intentional in terms of policy. Because what the chairman is talking about infrastructure is the same thing. But even with digital infrastructure, right, Web 3.0, all these platforms can help us to better integrate and collaborate at a continental level and build brands and properties that work for everybody. Because the truth of the matter is we all need each other. We have a lot to learn from Kenya and South Africa in terms of destination marketing and how they package experience. Everybody on the continent can learn from Rwanda in terms of how Rwanda has become the #1 conference destination. It's intentional. They invested to make it happen. It's not an accident. Nigeria has at least 12 states that have a bigger economy than Rwanda. We have no excuse. Do you understand? So all those states can have the same Kigali Convention Center. They can drive the same strategy and have the same success. So it's in our hands at the end of the day.
All right. Thank you very much. So we're looking forward to having more activities, more events, draw people in to Africa. That's what you mean, right? Because
it's Affirmation Lagos, man. Let me do a plug.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for the amazing speakers. Thank you, thank you. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Okay. Okay, so unfortunately, we cannot take the questions now, but if you do have questions, please write them down and maybe moderator will help us through with it. All right, thank you very much again. And it was really lovely sharing this time with you.
Please, can we have Amaka, Mrs. Ngoka? We'll also like to call on Mr. Ngambi Robert, the Director, Minister for Tourism, RODC. Please come join them up. Okay, we want Dr. Victor to also come, and Ikechiobi, please come up. We also want Dr. Kilo Sofo to please come from Côte d'Ivoire. Please come up, please. Come join them. Please move into the middle, please. Sorry. Photographer, help me arrange them. Sorry. Make way for them, please. Sir, please, please. You're part of the photograph, please. We need you in there. Minister, sorry. Where does Minister stay? Okay. Just try and put all the ladies in the middle. It works. It usually works. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We thank all of you for coming through. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Please, one more time, let's celebrate. Let's celebrate the panelists for a job well done. Please, let's celebrate one more time, please. Whilst we take this last set of